Welcome everyone back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Can't thank you enough for the support and the lovely message of the week. I'm all right. I'll get my chutzpah back in the next couple of days. But we're here today to talk about the VFL. I know you all enjoy this. And usually after a loss, it's probably a little bit more poignant. And we've got a rare occasion today. We're talking about a VFL win, which they're as rare as finding rocking horse poo behind your couch. So let's get straight into it. A couple of points of notice. We've got the Hot 50. We've got an S&C expert video coming up in the next couple of days. Got the Hot 50 of the draft. We've got a members video coming up this week as well. And we're going to try and fit in a live with you all. My good mate, Bev Tone, has been nattering for like just a talkback radio type thing where you can come and ask me questions. We'll do that. I'm working on some heavy data shit for the off-season. So that is really in-depth. So you're going to see that. We're going to have a bit of a crack with that. But let's get into this video. So Carlton, they ended up winning by 21 points back in Blacktown, 93, playing 114. The Blues really did play really well this game. It's got to be said, it was a real scrappy affair. GWS hit the front very early on. The Blues adjusted. It's quite interesting. The Blues adjusted to the heavy forward pressure by playing a lot more advanced up the ground, which is a myriad, a real flip from the AFL. And the Blues got some dominance, particularly around the middle. If you can win the source, that's usually good. And the Blues did pull away in the end and looked very clean towards the end. Particularly Mark Pitternet really dominated that, allowing the Blues to really dominate around stoppage and clearance. And in the end, it was a real strong game with some strong takeouts. And let's look at probably the player of the game, Jesse Motlop, playing a lot higher up the ground and being that link at half forward. Very similar to the role that you see Lynch play. Very interesting this game from him. He finally put it all together in 4 quarters. 18 touches, going at 61%, which is pretty good when you play in that role. 11 score involvements, 3 marks, 4 goals, 2 tackles inside 50. It was a real strong performance from Jesse, really showcasing what we know already about Jesse, his ability to get in and under, particularly around stoppage. He was a constant threat around forward half stoppages. Defensively, he was very strong as well. The pressure, which wasn't showcased in the AFL by the seniors, but he did show that. Real strong return to form from Jesse, and one who will be in the mix this week. Capping his 32-touch game, Jack Carroll with a goal, going at 65.6%. With the 8 score involvements, the 6 inside 50s, the 4 clearances, and the 2 tackles. This was a real coming-of-age game in the VFL for him. He controlled the narrative impeccably in the midfield. And it has to be said that there is some decent players in their middle as well. GWS. Nick Haynes surprisingly playing real high up, playing almost like the Adam Sard role. He was a constant menace, but Connor Stone, players like that. They've got Xavier O'Hallahan, all AFL-ready players, and he did look a cut above the rest, was real a menace. Good little numbers inside traffic, good handballs out there, looking to spread the play. Playing a very similar role to like Adam Chera in this. It was good to see. He looked real strong. Looked a real good conduit going from back to forward, was running really hard as well. This is really doing him good. He needs this like continuity in the middle of the park. And Caleb Marchbank up next. Interesting game by Caleb. Played a lot looser than you would expect. Nathan Wardhouse and Lachlan Keefe, when they went forward, he did struggle with them though. The 4 intercept possessions, the 1 tackle, the 1 rebound 50, the 11 touches, better ball use this week. But playing more like that Mitch McGovern role, that pure lockdown role. Gone are the days we're seeing him probably be that loose interceptor. There probably is a spot there as McGovern. He was knocked, and you could see that Brody Kemp had to play that more lockdown role, which is not really suited for him. Very interesting what they do, because I don't think you can drop Brody Kemp on one bad game, because in a normal world, McGovern and Whittaker would be sorely fit. But one thing I've noticed about Marchbank is his read has slightly gone on the ball. He's playing a lot behind the man. Now, I don't know if that's a structural thing, but it doesn't look as fluid as it used to. And this is where I'm looking now that this is probably the Mitch McGovern replacement. If Mitch McGovern is injured, you probably need that more lockdown role, which you've seen with Mitch is that floating role. Be interesting in the VFL, though, because he's got to play a little bit loose, because for that role to work, all three of them are a bit more dynamic, allowing Kemp to be free and Cowan to be free. So it's going to be a real interesting one. His game was okay. I just didn't think it was brilliant for a 5.5. Jackson Binns back to really roaming the wing. Real hard two-way running is showcased by the 3 tackles. 5 inside 50s, 2 rebound 50s, 8 score involvements. He's presenting so well defensively as well. He'll definitely be in the mix. These type of games are really the games that I get excited about from Jackson, because the two-way running is really important. The wings this week at the Blues did not work as we usually see. So it's going to be very interesting where he slots in. But this was a real solid game from Jackson Binns. Really created that width. Wasn't scared to get in the mix as well. Real good burst running and gut running for him. Really, really held it together. Mark Pittonet was a class above, and he really did showcase this. And this is a real interesting one, I think, here. He was up against Lachlan Keefe. Callum Brown did some hit-out work, which I've never thought I'd seen. And Nathan Richards isn't an AFL-ready ruckman, but he was absolutely dominant, as you would expect. Real good defensively, some real nice score launches from there, 6 score involvements as well, the 33 hit-outs, and slotting forward as well, which was interesting to see, because that's going to be the only way it works in the seniors. 1 forward, 1 back. I really enjoyed Mark Pittonet's game. It was a 6.5. I think he could have done more, but this was Mark Pittonet doing Mark Pittonet things, and he did look worthwhile around the ground. A real interesting one. Another stunning performance from David Cunningham. 29 touches, 72.4 efficiency, 6 inside 50s, 6 clearances, 8 tackles, 10 score involvements. It's very interesting that Voss flirts with this Kennedy Hewitt type thing, where it's one or the other. Very interesting recently, and that would showcase to me that we're looking for someone to be a bit dynamic. And Connors' defensive work this week was absolutely exemplary. It's really an understated role, and a guy that's probably at risk of not staying on. These are the type of games that make me dubious of, do you not re-sign him? Because he is so adding that strength to what he was doing. Real strong defensively. Like, it's got to be said, he was incredible defensively, but he was also incredible offensively. This was a very Matt Kennedy type game. But the big difference with Connors is that standing speed, but also that injection of making something happen. He looked really deadly at times, and I really enjoyed what Cunningham was doing. Obviously, he's playing a very baby GWS midfield. They're not exactly A-listers. Xavier O'Hallahan's a very good player, but Connors was a class apart, and his link-up work in the forward half was nothing short of remarkable. Harry Lemmy, the 10 touches going at 60%, the 4 marks, the 2 tackles, showcasing a bit of Harry Mackay about him. The 4 score involvements, took his 2 goals well. He's really building nicely. This was a real interesting game for me watching him. He was really strong. He gave Nick Haynes problems at that half forward at times as well with his late leads. He's starting to build a bit of confidence. I feel like there's a massive game coming from him. I like what he's building. 6.5 out of 10 for the Lem Dog. Up next, Lewis Young, who was probably the pick of the key defenders, it has to be said. 87%, he was with his 23 touches, 4 rebound 50s, the 8 intercepts, 11 marks, 3 score involvements. And this was really interesting here. He really is turning into the kind of Audi Jacob Whittaker in the VFL. He's looking to play solid one-on-one, but he's looking to get a bit of confidence. And there was a real bit of confidence in Lewis Young towards the second half as well. He looked comfortable, and that's really good. This looked more like the doggies, Lewis Young and early Carlton. And I really do like Lewis Young. It's about building it. And for me, that's one of my worries about Lewis. He seems to be very confidence-based, and I don't like it because at times he's got to just find that himself. But he's building nicely, and you know what? An able backup. Rob Monaghan, 6 touches. He got a bit more involved. The 2 inside 50s, the 2 tackles, 2 of them inside 50 as well. 4 inside and 4 score involvements. No goals. Again, I'd like to see him play a little bit deeper and get him involved. But you know what? His defensive craft and his running, he's all there. He's got a little bit when he's got the ball. It's a nice slow burn with Rob. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops. But 5 out of 10 for him. Billy Wilson, a little bit loose with his touch. He looked a little bit unmatch aware is the way I describe it, but he is a cut above the average bear. Reminds me a lot of Alex Chincotta when he was in the VFL before we signed him. His burst off halfback is impeccable. 7 intercept possessions, 6 marks, 5 rebound 50s. No tackles. This was more because he was playing a looser role and he was really looking to get the game going. He really did have some nice little conduit moments as well. Had 4 score involvements, 2 of them from the back half of the ground. Really aggressive, looks to take the game on. I really do like Billy Wilson. You know what? Just 3 or 4 more games and I might be calling for him to come into the seniors as we rotate some players. Real strong out in 6 out of 10 for Billy. Up next, Cooper Lord. This kid is a cut above, and we talk about two-way running and trying to find that more defensive mid who has got scope to do anything else. For me, that's why George Hewitt is so important. I can see why Voss flirts with him in and out of the team, but Cooper Lord is someone building nicely. His ball use this week in close was exceptional, hitting runners. Hit Billy a few times as he did that overlapping run. Hit Jackson Binns as he did that overlapping run. The 7 clearances, the 4 score involvements, the 6 tackles, constant menace defensively, 8.5. We've got quite the player here, Cooper Lord. I'm a big, big fan. Sam Durden, this is a real interesting one here because I think Lewis Young's ahead of him and I think Marchbank's got a higher scope. It was a solid game from him, though. He plays his role well, but this is, for me, where we're looking at that next development. I'd love to see like a 18, 19-year-old kid here. But that being said, he did what he had to do. This is the big thing, though. I don't think he's as good offensively as Lewis Young, and Lewis Young by no means is a world beater offensively. And defensively, he's about on par with everyone with that experience. This is definitely a stopgap, but it was a decent outing, 6 out of 10. Domaku broke my heart this game because I felt this game here with the way that GWS put a lot of pressure on the forward half of the ground, which we talked about. They do deep entries. Felt this was the game where someone should get off the chain and be that real intercept threat, and I didn't quite see it from Dom. This is one of them games where I felt like he went into his shell and played within himself. 3 intercept possessions, the 3 marks, didn't get it outside of rebound 50. Used the ball fairly well. 3 out of 4 touches were hitting targets, the 1 tackle. He looked a little bit lost with a packed backline this week, and that breaks my heart because I feel like when he uses his skills, he's very dangerous. Ashton Moore playing real high up the ground, and you can see why. Carlton are trying to get him into it, trying to allow that overlap run, and probably Jackson Binns' game and Billy Wilson's overlaps are partly down to how they deployed it, but it's not quite his role. And I really did want to see him play real high half forward, trying to get him into the game. And he kind of plodded when Carlton got dominated. All the talent in the world, and this is one of them games where I'm waiting for it to click because he gets in the right areas and he does do the right things. But I do want to see a bit more. And he is a first-year player, but the talent this guy's got, these type of players do develop slightly late because it is an intuitive role. But I did want to see a little bit more. 4.5 out of 10. Took his goal well, though, has to be said. And Alex Murkoff, these are the type of games he's got to dominate. When you've got Pitternet there dominating against B-grade Ruckman, it has to be said, I want to see a little bit more. And Murkoff kind of got a bit lost. 5 touches, 60%, only 1 clearance, tackled pretty well, 8 hit-outs, didn't really do much offensively and defensively. This kind of disappoints me a little bit because I think Murkoff's at a better level than this, and this wasn't quite the strong game that I expect. All in all, the Blues did do what they had to do. They got the win. Off the bottom of the ladder, a bit of a build, some nice takeouts from the game. Let me know what you thought. Peace, love, and light. Pop out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby.